Kempire is brought to you by... Hey, Kempire fam, are you okay? This Friday, September 19th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. PST, I'm going live with my faves at Butter Skin to spill the glow. I'm breaking down my real routine and the products I actually use, and so much more. We're talking quick, simple switches that make a huge difference, tips for glowing skin, and exclusive deals and giveaways you can only get during the live. Be sure to tune in and follow at Butter Skin everywhere so you don't miss it. And get ready to upgrade your routine and level up your glow with me, TheKempire. Let's get it, and I'll see you then. You're listening to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio Network. Welcome back to the Kempire channel, your number one source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. As always, be sure to like this video, be sure to subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. If I sound a little down, that's because I just found out there is a new episode of Real Housewives of Miami. And you know I love Miami, but when you have in your head, like, okay, I get a break this week. I love watching Real Housewives, but for me, it's job, it's work. So it's becoming less and less fun recapping it. So please understand, I might be cutting back on some of the cities that I recap. Just because, especially like Orange County, the fact that I have to take time out, I think if I didn't have to do Orange County this week and just recap Real Housewives of Miami, I wouldn't care. I'd be like, oh, fine. I enjoy Real Housewives of Miami. We talked about Real Housewives of Miami yesterday and their reunion look. So if you missed that, be sure to check that out. We had a Hot Topics live. But someone on Twitter were like, oh, because I thought this week was the season finale. No, this week's episode is a new episode, and then next week is their season finale. So I was like, oh, so then it means we're not going to have an episode this week. Nope, there was a new episode last night, and I will be recapping it begrudgingly, not because I don't enjoy Real Housewives of Miami, just because in my head I was like, oh, I got a break. I'll pre-record this recap of Real Housewives of Orange County, and then I can rest up because I will also be live tonight for butterskin.com. I'll be on their website, also streaming here on YouTube, giving you guys all of the tips and tricks in regards to my skincare, what I've been utilizing with Butter. Also, there will be giveaways. So that will be happening tonight at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. PST. Okay? More information on Butter and their products and how you can get 10% off will be available in the description. All right, let's get to Real Housewives of Miami. I didn't take any notes. I didn't need to take any notes. I'm just going to talk about the most important things that came out of this episode. As I said to you before, I wouldn't be shocked if I just take a break from recapping Orange County. I'm not saying this week's episode was bad. It was probably better. It was definitely better than last week's episode. There was a lot that came out in this episode that made me go, They're still talking about what's going on with the whole bloggers and Katie. They're not talking about it, but the streets are still talking about it. It's like Katie never existed, if you're going to be honest. It's like Katie never existed. So, okay. This week, I saw that Page Six had their virtual reality award show. I guess they're just creating award shows nowadays. I don't know. Whatever. But all the Bravo celebrities showed up for it, including Sheena. So you remember, two T's in a pod, right? Two T's in a pod. They said on their platform, Teddy said that Gretchen told Sheena, and that's how Kiki found out about the whole naked wasted situation. Sheena, at this event here in New York City, said that was absolutely not true. And I'm sure by the time you hear this particular recap, Sheena will have spilled on her podcast, because she said she was going to spill it on her podcast because, you know, she's thirsty than ever. She wants the clicks and likes because this is how she depends on making a living nowadays, because, you know, all of those, she's going to be on the Valley, but all of these Vanderpump Rules folks are desperate for attention and money. But okay, they didn't save their coins. They didn't capitalize when they should have capitalized off of this. So she's saying that is a complete lie. She's known Gretchen for 15 years, and Gretchen has never mentioned this whole naked wasted situation to her. At least not the accusation of going to the hospital and things like that. That's what she said during the virtual tea event. Okay. I really don't even care at this point. Like I said, this week's episode doesn't even address Katie. It's like Katie never existed. I don't know if that's a good thing, a bad thing. I know the fans are like, oh my God, Team Katie, blah, blah, blah. It's like Katie never existed and no one cares. And like I said, this week's episode was actually far better than most of the episodes that they had. And I said this last week, and this week just proved it for me. Heather is necessary for this show because no one could throw a slumber party, an adult slumber party, the way that she just did. It was fun. It was entertaining. It was rich. It did everything that we want to happen. And yes, the Temecula trip is okay. It's all right. However, I'm like, it was more about what was the conversations that they were having. The adult sleepover was more about the fun that they were having. Yes, the things that they talked about, like Heather and why she might be scared of Tamra and why she's letting Tamra get away with stuff. I will say this, the psychology degree in me says, oh, okay, that makes sense why Heather might be fearful of Tamra because she's triggered that Tamra reminds her so much of her own father. She didn't really dig into it, and she says when she brought it up to Tamra, Tamra, being the narcissist that she is, sort of brushed over it. And she was like, she never even asked about, why I said that. It was an opportunity for Tamra to get to know her friend, and she didn't do that. Am I shocked? While I was watching the episode, I said to myself, Tamra is really evil. And I'm not saying that lightly. I really believe this woman, I know she likes to say that she was diagnosed with autism. We found out that was not true. No, I feel like Tamra is a narcissist. It might be something worse. But I really feel like she's evil. I really had that thought. I'm being honest with you. Do I think that she might harm someone? I don't know about that, but I really feel like she's emotionless. And this is why I understand why a Jen or Shannon might not want to revisit trying to have a friendship with her. They've seen a side of her, they're like, I can never trust you ever again. I don't blame them. I looked at Tamra and I was like, you are a little devil. Like, really? I'm not saying this lightly. I mean what I'm saying, everybody. I mean everything that I'm saying right now. I feel like she has no emotion or real connection to anyone. And it makes me wonder what her kids think. Because remember, she's estranged from one of her kids right now. It makes me wonder, what are their thoughts and opinions on Tamra as a mother? But that's me. All right. So I'm watching the episode. Again, it's a second part to their split girls' trips, okay? Heather and Gretchen and Emily are doing like an adult sleepover. They're out to eat. They're having conversations. And that's when when Heather asks, when Heather reveals what she said to Tamra about her father, and her father being very much like Tamra, where she, you never know what she's going to say. She's very her father. And she says she feels like Tamra's very much like that. So Gretchen takes that opportunity to be like, tell me more about your father. And she talks a little bit more about how her father was like that and growing up. They would never know. It sounds like he had a bad temper, meaning he probably needed anger management. And they never knew when he was going to go off the handle. So she talks about that. And then I really thought to myself, because I know some people will be like, well, no, she's just saying that to make an excuse. But no, if you have a parent like Heather's, or just something that's very triggering for your parent, which makes you react to certain situations in life, like you don't like conflict or you run away from conflict because of the way that you grew up, it made sense to me. I was like, oh, so she doesn't want to trigger Tamra because it's going to trigger something in her that she probably still has not dealt with. It sounds like it. So Gretchen asked her a little bit more about it, and she talked more about her father and how she grew up. Okay. So they talk a little bit about that. And that's when Gretchen drops that, they go to the Abbey. Mind you, I've been to California twice, and I've stayed in the West Hollywood area, and I've walked past the Abbey, but I've never gone inside. Sidebar, I saw that in West Hollywood, they lowered the the pride flag and the American flag and the trans flag in honor of Charlie Kirk. Okay. I don't know what to tell you I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, just something to think about. So back to this. So they go to the Abbey. I've never even seen. I mean, I guess I've seen the inside of the Abbey because I've watched Vanderpump Rules, and they always seem to go to the Abbey. But this was like the first time I've actually seen like how the Abbey is set up. So they go in. They're having a good time. They're dancing. Emily was having a real good time. She was up in the lap of that stripper. I don't know if Emily realizes. I'm thinking they're assuming that the strippers there are gay. Y'all might not realize this, ladies, that a lot of the strippers at these gay places are gay for pay, basically, meaning a lot of them are straight. Or maybe she doesn't care. She was having a good old time. So they're dancing around, they're having a good time. So we get into a conversation about Gretchen's song. Apparently Gretchen has music. You guys have been watching OC for a long time. You probably already knew that. I mean, look, Housewives all have music. I saw Joe also was like the first housewife to ever have music. Whoop-de-doo. How about being the first housewife to actually make a career out of music? That might be a better title. But anyway. So that leads to Gretchen saying, oh yeah, Tamra has a song too. And we're like, huh? And like, oh yeah, and apparently she has the recording. This takes a different turn when they're in the car and they FaceTime with Slade. And this interaction with Slade and Gretchen and them saying all this on camera is really making me believe the Katie portion of this story, where Katie was saying that Slade called Matt and said everyone needs to toe the line, and that there was some sort of plot and plan to produce Gretchen and make her interesting on this season or make her stand out on this season. I believe that. And I also believe that Gretchen, I don't know what Gretchen does for a living, but I'm sure this is an easy check that will help catapult everything else that she does as an influencer on social media. We know Slade doesn't work. That becomes a topic because Heather brings up like, so why didn't you and Slade ever get married? I know back then you told me it was because of, financial reasons, blah, 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 blah. And basically what she alluded to, Gretchen, was it's still that. That's still an issue in regards to getting their accounts and things like that together. So Emily and Heather are sort of digging into it. It's like, do you guys have separate accounts? And she's like, oh, yeah, I've always had separate accounts. So the Slade and Gretchen of it all, yes, they've been together a long time. But it seems as if Slade is living off of Gretchen because he doesn't work. And if he's working right now, he's sort of working as her handler when it comes to, or her manager, for a better word. And it triggered something in me because I have friends, or I have a friend that has a similar situation where she basically like pays for everything and her partner doesn't, and this partner doesn't work. And I always like, look, at the end of the day, y'all are grown adults. It doesn't affect me in any shape or form. You do what you want. But watching the Gretchen and the Slade of it all, I was like, this is more common than you guys realize. That there are women that are willing to take care of a man, basically. And to me, I can't fathom it. It would not work for me because it kind of makes me look at you like, you're okay with, first of all, you're okay with this person taking care of you. That says to me a lot more about you as a man than anything. And even when I get into a relationship, I don't mind. I'm very generous. I don't mind taking care of my partner, but I also don't want to feel like, God forbid something happens to me. God forbid, especially in the business that I'm in, God forbid anything happens to me, that you won't be able to handle everything. You know what I mean? So that's why I personally couldn't do it. So watching Gretchen and them have this conversation about Slade and is Slade working and the house that they're living in is in her name. And Emily's like, so does he pay you rent? And she's like, no. So it wouldn't shock me that she's paying for everything. And he kind of keeps his position in her life by maybe taking care of the house, taking care of the kid. I don't know. Couldn't be me. What about you, ladies and gentlemen? couldn't be me. But again, if I was her friend, your life, girl, you want to live like this? That's on you. And as I said to you before, I have a friend very similar in this similar situation. For years, I've noticed this. Never said anything. I was like, girl, if you're not going to bring it up, if you're not going to say anything, that is on you. Because that's your personal finances. That's your personal choices with a partner. And the minute you bring it up, please understand the person will turn on you and choose their partner over you. And I'm also okay with that as well. But anyway, I've digressed because we were speaking of Slade. And Slade, when he was on FaceTime, was the one to spill the tea. Oh, this wasn't just a song that Tamra recorded. Oh, also, Gretchen also spilled that Tamra recorded this song with a popular singer. I don't know who it is. I don't know if we ever will get to the bottom of that. And apparently it was while she was married. I don't know the timing of this. I don't know if it was when she was married the first time or when she was married to Eddie. But that's major tea for Gretchen to spill. And then she wanted to make it seem like her hands were clean later on because Slade further gave more details saying that, oh, the recording isn't a Tamra song. It's actually Tamra having sex with this guy, basically cheating on her. I don't know which husband. My thing is, though, didn't Tamra cheat with Eddie on her first marriage? So, you know what they say, once a cheater, always a cheater? Maybe not. I don't know. But that tea was sort of like, first of all, Gretchen, you're not innocent because you were the first one to bring up this recording. And then you admitted that that Tamra had cheated. And then you guys called Slade. And if you didn't want that to be said on camera, I'm sure Slade wouldn't have said it. So I feel like you guys are pre-producing here. And for those because I forgot who said it. It was someone this week that said, I think it was Sheena who said that, Gretchen's not a liar. Based off of this season, and mind you, I've never watched Gretchen before. Based off this season, I don't know if I believe that. I don't believe, first of all, we've caught her in a lie. But now I'm starting to think like, Gretchen is not so innocent that she likes to portray. And honestly, I think she probably also uses Slade to do her dirty work, if we're going to be honest. Just saying. Guys, don't forget you can also hear an audio recording of our live recaps and special episodes, like the episode we did yesterday with a bunch of hot topics on the Kempire podcast. While you're there, don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. We're talking about the latest episode of the Real Housewives of Orange County. This is pre-recorded, especially now that I've discovered that there's a new episode of Real Housewives of Miami. Oh, Lord. I'm already tired. Also, don't forget, I dropped by Behind the Velvet Rope with David Yontef. You know, he was here last week on my channel. Now I'm on his channel and podcast, so make sure you guys go and take a listen to that. All right, we talked a lot of stuff. I know for those that may have listened to the episode here, you think it's going to be the same stuff. No. We delved into some more other things when it comes to Real Housewives, so be sure to check that out if you missed it. That came out yesterday, and part 2 will be coming out next week. All right, moving on from there. Let me see what notes I do have. Let's talk about this. So this week's episode of Real Housewives of Orange County started off with where they ended, and that was with Tamra and Shannon getting into it in regards to, every time they forgive Tamra, it becomes the same thing. So they end that dinner in a decent place because Tamra tries to, first of all, Tamra threw Gina under the bus saying that she's concerned about your drinking too. So Gina's just like, but isn't it okay for me to worry for you? And she's like, I know, I appreciate you worrying for me, but, I don't do anything but, relax and do Sudoku at my home. I don't know if I believe that, but at the end of the day, confronting someone that might have an addiction or a problem on camera is not going to help them. It's not. I know people are like, well, this is reality television. She signed up for reality. But if you really care about this person, if you really value this person, if you really are worried for this person, and yes, Gina said this on camera when she was talking with Tamra, but this is what we're talking about with Tamra. This was said to Tamra in confidence. I'm sure Gina in her mind is not thinking Tamra is going to bring this up at dinner. And I know it was recorded and it could be shared later on, but still, this is Tamra's character. No one can trust her. You can't sit there and have a conversation. And mind you, Gina was saying, well, I was having that conversation because I didn't like what you were doing when it comes to Shannon and her drinking, because you were taking her and going for a drink. So I can understand where Gina's probably not expecting that she's going to bring this up and throw me under the bus, but that is what Tamra does. She throws you under the bus, no matter how close you think you are to her. The only person that she hasn't thrown under the bus yet is her children that I've seen. You guys will let me know in the comment section. Like, well, no, she has in the past. I don't know. Based on what I've seen so far, she hasn't done that. All right. So they sort of end the conversation in a good place, and they go back to the home to hang out, have a good time, change into their bikini t-shirts, and they're having their own little conversations. Shannon's laying down because look, she was like, Shannon, this might not be the show for you anymore because you're just ready to go to sleep, and I don't blame you because this wouldn't be a show for me either. I'd be like, after dinner, I'm ready to go lay down. I'm not ready to go and film and do more stuff. So we have that particular part of the episode at the very top. Let me see if there was something else that I wanted to mention at the top of this episode. Okay, let me see. Okay. No, it's about the same stuff that I had. Okay. All right. So moving on from there, the ladies over at Heather's home, there's beautiful canopies. I guess that's the living room. She's got the butler service. The next day, she's got the chef. Everyone, they're like, Heather's like, order whatever you want. It's a private chef. Even though he's judging the way that they want their food. She's like, I don't care. I'm paying him. Get whatever you want. I love it. I love it for them. So, more stuff happens in regards to the tea that Gretchen spilled. And she's still trying not to own it. But then it leads to a conversation about Gretchen and Slade and their relationship and why they're not married yet. And she's like, well, we did have a spiritual ceremony. Why doesn't Gretchen want to marry Slade? Probably because of his finances. And if she was to marry him, if he doesn't have any finances, and she was to divorce him, even though they've been together 16 years, even if she was to divorce him, she probably would have to end up taking care of him. But you already are. But at least now they're in a relationship. I don't know. 16 years and your man hasn't been working? How do you even want to sleep with him? Just saying. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, but here we are. So anyway, what else happened in this episode that's even worth talking about? For me, the most important things that happen are the Tamra and Shannon relationship stuff, the tea that Tamra has some sort of audio recording out there with her cheating with some popular singer from Generation X. I wonder who it is. I really wonder who it is. Not that it matters, because look, Eddie, even if she did cheat on you, you lose them how you got them. Let's get to the Shannon and Tamra of it all, because they sit, Shannon makes breakfast for them. They're sitting, they're relaxing, they're having a conversation. So Shannon opens up a little bit about how she grew up, and Jen is genuinely concerned for Shannon, because they're like, she's at home. She's not dating anyone. She seems to thrive when she's with a partner, which is fine. This is probably a good period for Shannon to really fall in love with herself before getting into another relationship and healing the wounds of the past. Literally, the John Jansen of it all just played out. And then we had the season where he was suing her. I could understand her taking some time. Obviously, she wants to be in a relationship, but take your time. But they're worried for her that she's just at home with the dog and nothing else is happening. Well, then she talks about how she grew up and why she might have some of the issues that she has. But here's why I say Tamra is not your friend, and I don't blame Shannon for being upset. Because as Shannon's opening up and talking about as much as she wants to talk about, Tamra was like, well, didn't your father have a drinking issue? And Shannon's just like, and there it is. Because I could see where Shannon might be triggered and feel like Tamra's trying to take a dig, because she's probably trying to tie Shannon's father's drinking issues with the possibility, because we know the addiction to drinking can be genetic. That Shannon's father's drinking could be tied to Shannon's drinking, which is where I think Shannon was going with that being a dig. But here's my issue. Even if it wasn't a dig at Shannon and you felt like this was a heartfelt moment for you guys to open up and have a conversation, that is not your place, Tamra, to bring up her family stuff. She spoke to you about that in confidence. And this is why she feels like she can't trust you. Because if anyone was going to bring up her father's drinking, first of all, she's opening up talking about what her mother was trying to divorce her father and he didn't get served. So they are sitting there pretending like, she's opening up. Allow her to get to that place. That is not for you to talk about her father's past drinking, who's been featured on the show. And she's probably like, I don't want to say that because my father is going to hear that I mentioned his drinking issue on the show. So I don't blame Shannon for being upset. And then Tamra makes it all about herself, like, oh, I don't know what I can't say. I thought we were having a moment. That is not for you. You are a grown adult. Tamra's not 10 years old. She's damn near 60. She needs to learn how to have a filter. And I know she'll probably be like, well, this is what I'm working on in therapy. Girl, go get off of this show and really get some help. Because this show is not helping you. I know there are those fans that feel like without Tamra, this show would be nothing. No, she's dangerous. And you keep rewarding this behavior, it's going to get even darker. I don't know why people do not learn from this. And I understand why Jen is just like, and here we are. I can't trust her with anything because she will turn on you in a dime. During this trip, Jen is reminded of, yes, you can have a good time with Tamra. But it has to be surface level. That's what it feels like. It has to be surface level. You can't tell her anything deep because she might use that against you in the future. I would never be friends with Tamra. I wouldn't even engage with Tamra in a conversation as a blogger, journalist. I would never. Nope. I don't want to be around that because I feel like even if you had like an offline conversation with her, she would use that and weaponize that against you. If she does it to her own friends, why would she do it to a stranger? This is why I said I feel like she's evil. Why would you bring up Shannon's father's drinking? Let Shannon tell that story. That's Shannon's story to tell. And look, I don't agree with what Gretchen is doing in this episode by spilling some sort of tea, just especially when you guys seem to be trying to get to a better place. So I don't agree with that, and I feel like they were doing that, so I don't blame Tamra and Gretchen to be getting into it later on in the season because, okay, girl, you brought some tea. Just when I thought we were trying to move forward and put things to bed, now you're stirring the pot and bringing something else up. Maybe. What else happened in this episode that I wanted to talk about? I think those were the main things, guys. This is going to be a short one this week, which is fine because you already could tell how I feel about having to recap this and talk about Real Housewives of Miami later on today. But I wanted to make sure that at least we stay on track. Maybe next week I will take a break from OC, and the following week I'll do maybe 2 episodes. I need a break. I can't. This was a decent episode. If you guys had to rate this week's episode from 1 to 10, how would you rate it? In my head, I was thinking a 7, but that's probably the best episode they've had so far this season. In my opinion. This is my opinion. This is my review. I don't know. It was just okay for me. I guess we'll see how the rest of the season plays out. I will see you guys for our Real Housewives of Miami recap. I actually enjoy Miami. I enjoy talking about the season. I even saw a preview for the episodes, and I was just like, oh no, this is a good episode for Real Housewives of Miami. I just thought in my head, I was like, oh, I have a break. I don't have to recap it this week. No, I have a new episode this week and a new episode next week. Look. Don't forget, I will be live this evening on butterskin.com and here on YouTube for some giveaways and giving you guys more insight to my skincare routine with Butter. That will be tonight at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. PST. Set your reminders. I will see you guys later on today. Anyways, don't forget to like the video. Don't forget that you can also hear our live recaps on the Kempire podcast. Make sure you subscribe there as well. And don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And shout out to our Kings Guard subscribers and our channel members. And don't forget, we have some new tour merch. New tour merch is now available at houseofkempire.com. That's HAUS of Kempire.com. More information will be available in the description. Go get your tour merch while it's available. I believe also during the live, you guys can let me know in the chat. I believe you can also see it under the video. So you can click it from there too. All right, y'all. I appreciate you all being here. And look, this is a nice, short, juicy one. You never know. Maybe for the podcast version, I'll add more. Doubt it. I don't think there's much more to say. Right? Anyway. All right. I appreciate you guys being here and for dealing with my crotchiness when it comes to watching this episode. But a lot of you are not even watching the episode. You're watching my recaps. I appreciate it, but I still have to watch the episode. All right, guys. I appreciate you all being here. Everyone have a fantastic rest of your day. I'll see you during our Real Housewives of Miami recap later on. I believe, let's say 2:30. Thanks for tuning in to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio Network. Don't forget to give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And for more information on the podcast, head on over to KempireRadio.com.